My personal philosophy when it comes to soundtracks and marketing and all that is like, first and foremost, like we work for the movie. Our job is to help the collective of people, all the stakeholders and filmmakers, like our job is to make the movie. So that drives everything. We could also make a Twisters or 50 Shades or whatever, where we know the soundtrack's important and is going to play a significant role in the consumer experience of the movie. Wicked as well, we know the soundtrack's important, but like on a day-to-day basis, in terms of priorities and column A considerations, our job is to make the movie responsibly and as great as possible. Everything else is column B, right? So with the example you're asking about Despicable Me 2, there was a spot in Despicable Me 2 that was a sequence where the main Steve Carell's character, who's the protagonist, but also the antagonist, I guess, the cranky, villainous protagonist of the movie, wakes up in love with Kristen Wiig's character, and he is uncharacteristically happy. I mean, it's like, you could describe the scene in the movie, you would use the word happy to the nth degree, and now in hindsight, it'd be like, of course, there would have been a song called Happy. It was not that easy for Pharrell to find, but there was a sequence in the movie that was designed to be a montage that was like, there's all these vignettes of that character, Gru, waking up in the morning and he's just happy because he's in love, and so he's making breakfast with the kids and he's happy, and he's walking down the street and interacts with some people, and then he's in the park, and then he goes to buy ice cream or whatever, and just all these is just showing him being happy. And the filmmakers designed the sequence with that in mind. We knew it was going to be an original song. The conceit of the Despicable Me movies is that Pharrell creates these original songs. We license needle drops and everything, but the template, so to speak, is that Pharrell's songs play a role. They're like a voice and a character in the film. And so it just got down to the wire that there was this one sequence that was just the unsolvable challenge for Pharrell and the filmmakers. And it got really intense, right? Where Pharrell would try something, and then they would, our animation studio, Illumination, all the work is done in Paris. And so we'd send it over to Paris, and the filmmakers would cut it to picture and try it, and they'd come back and they'd be like, no, this one doesn't work. And we go back to Pharrell and try to translate the notes. That's our job as well, is to sort of like take people who just use plain English to describe what they like or don't like about something, and then help translate that into like a musical language. And we did that a lot of times. And the thing about movies that's different than someone who's just making records, even people who've had a lot of success making records, is that there's real deadlines, which are different than the way people make records, I think. It's like, the record's done, we'll release it this quarter, vaguely. And if it's not done next quarter, next year, whatever, like, we need stuff like, this song has to be done by like Thursday at 4 o'clock. And like, we're not messing around. Like, that's a real thing. And so Pharrell, we went through enough tries at it that it just started getting really frustrating. Pharrell tells this story. I'm not like pulling the curtain back on anything that hasn't already been made public, but it got really dark and it got really rough. And I remember having a really tough conversation with Pharrell at one point where I was like, listen, man, like, we're running out of time. And if you can't crack the code on this, we'll license a song. I'm not gonna say which song, but we'll license the song and it'll be fine. But it wouldn't have been fine. This was like a motivational, like, get your shit together and let's make the song. And nobody wanted that. Nobody wanted to not, we didn't want to leave anything on the table. We wanted an amazing original song. So he went away, he sort of started from scratch again and dug deep and somehow came back with an initial version of Happy. And it was like, I remember hearing it for the first time and you go like, wait a minute, like, this could be a thing. And it's like, not just do we like the song, but like, again, we work for the movie. So the first question is like, is this gonna work for the scene? Right? And so like, you start there and you cross your fingers, like, I like the song, I think the song is good. Will the filmmakers like it? Will it work in the sequence? Will it check all the boxes that it needs to for it to work in the film? And like, oh, it does? Cool. And then we're off and running from there. And then, but the whole like, why do we make songs and why do we make soundtracks aside from just we like making stuff? You know, there was an era, if we were doing this panel 30 whatever years ago, soundtracks meant something different. I think they were more of a marketing tool in advance of the release of a film to create awareness and to drive people to theaters. I think there's still examples where we do that. Twisters, I think, is probably a recent example of still trying to do a version, a contemporary version of that. But you tell me the last time someone heard a song on the radio, that's a loaded statement right there. I don't know, do people hear songs on the radio? But the last time someone heard a song that they didn't intend to hear, song on the radio, and they went, oh, what is that? Oh, that's from a movie? Oh, how do I see that? Oh, now I'm going to the movie because I heard that song. As opposed to the other way around. Saw the movie, I love the music, I gotta listen to that soundtrack. They're both valid, but you know, different reasons to make a record, right?
So Happy was written under very unhappy circumstances.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
I would say it wasn't unhappy, it was just high pressure.
High pressure.
And pressure, whatever it takes to light the fire and motivate. I feel like we just started and I saw the clock get to 0 and that's a bummer.
Wow. I don't even have time to do a wrap-up question. I want to do one wrap-up
We can, I don't know who's next, but they can wait.
What is your favorite movie that you've ever worked on or that you're proudest of, and why?
Yes.
I know there's a lot to choose from. There's a lot to choose from.
It changes, you know, like my saying, you know, we love all our children equally, right? Like,
I'm asking you to pick a favorite.
How do you pick a favorite? For me, it's an answer that changes daily, right? Like, I'd say one of the most, I mean, Wicked is an obvious answer because it's a lightning in a bottle, once in a lifetime kind of thing that just impacted culture in a way that was felt phenomenal, right? And being part, it's such an honor to be part of that, I didn't really get to talk about how we made it, but just that it was such a journey that like, I'm so proud of it. And I'm so proud and honored to have been a part of it and to be part of the core team. Does that make it like my one and only favorite? No, because Wild Robot was another special one, and Twisters was another special one, and Despicable means something, and you know, and Nosferatu, I'm not a horror movie guy, but like I'm such a fan of that movie. So I'm fortunate that again, just bringing it back full circle, being a guy who gets to work on a diverse portfolio of movies of all shapes and sizes, like, I love a lot of them for a lot of different reasons.
So you're not going to pick a favorite?
I kind of just did.
Yeah,
let's go with all of those. They're all my favorites.
Pick some favorites.
Yeah.
So we are out of time. I didn't even get through my first page.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. Totally my fault.
No.
Actually, Melinda, we're going to give you another couple of minutes because this is brilliant. So let's ask one more question.
Oh,
the voice of God says a couple more minutes. I don't even. Oh, he's right there. That's that. Okay.
Were you going to signal? Will you wave to one of us when we have to stop?
You got 2 minutes.
Two minutes. Here we go. Okay.
So I wanted to ask, I think Twisters, for those of you who don't know, Twisters is an amazing soundtrack. The soundtrack is 29 songs, all freshly created for the movie, all by country artists of different levels, you know, from Luke Combs down to like Sam Barber, and 20 of the songs are in the movie. So can you talk about how do you pick a label? Like, you work a lot with like Kevin Weaver at Warner. How do you pick a label, and how important is your label partner?
I mean, in this instance, it was very important, and that was a big part of the process of, aside from sitting down with the filmmakers, you know, Rachel Levy, who's on my team, ran point on that movie. She's a brilliant music supervisor, and this was the movie she's always been waiting for. She's from Austin, Texas, and, you know, it's just like, been waiting for a movie like this. But, you know, again, we knew that if our vision of the kind of soundtrack that we thought could go with the movie, the filmmakers had to be on board for wanting to do that, because we couldn't just go off and make 29 songs and then circle back to the filmmakers and say, you just got to jam these into the movie, and, you know, they'll be barely audible. Like, we had to know that we were all on the same page with this unified vision of a version of the movie Twisters where the songs that we would custom make would really play a significant role in the experience of the film. And then column B, marketing and soundtrack and all of that, right? And Lee Isaac Chung, Ashley Sandberg, director and producer respectively, like, we were all on the same page of like, yes, let's do that. aside from Ben Wolfish scoring the movie, and he did a brilliant score as well, let's make a sound. So knowing that was we were all kind of gonna lock arms and be on the same page, jump into the abyss together, it became clear that to do that well, not just for the film, but at a commercial level that was kind of relevant and of value in a lot of ways, we would need to partner with the right label or executive music producer, and Kevin Weaver and his team, Joe Curry and Brandon Goodman and Ian Cripps at Atlantic. There's another thing that I say all the time is just, right tool for the right job. It's not just that I like those guys and want to hang out with them and be on a Zoom every other day and all of that, but like they are the right kind of like label partner who understand our business. And I think what's really important is people at a label who understand the process of making the movie, not just like making a cool record and let's make a music video and then the release date. It's like we weren't making a standard, let's just make a record. Again, first and foremost, having to make the movie and bringing them on as partners who understand that. Right? Like that's what we're working for. We're gonna then break it down spot for spot. What can we do here? What can we do there? Who would be the right songwriter, producer, artist? Sometimes those are the same thing, sometimes they're not. And then we just really kind of work together and also divided and conquered, like, all right, let's, who'd be good? You kind of envision, like, where do you want to end up? What's the destination? What is the best version of what we could do here for this spot in the movie? Can we get that person? Let's take a shot. And if we don't get that person, they don't all have to be Atlantic artists. I think that's the other thing for us that's important. If we're going to partner with Atlantic, they know that like that we're not calling them to say like, can we do this in a way where we're only going to work with Atlantic artists? Because that's not going to work. And it also is not the right, that will not be the right motivation on a decision by decision basis, right? So we were very aligned, we were very like-minded, we worked very simpatico with each other for the beginning, middle, and end of the entire process of making the movie and then the soundtrack. And then we just chipped away at it spot for spot, or we took big swings, and artists that we got, I'm very proud of that record, and I think knowing how long it took to put together, it's like I think we were a little ahead of the curve going after and getting some of the artists that we got that are huge now. They weren't as huge then, and we're proud of that. And then there were some people we didn't get, but it worked out great. So, that's just part of the process. And you don't burn down the house or burn bridges with people who say no or where it doesn't work out. You go, all right, we'll get them next time. Right? So, did we get to the second page of your cards? That was way more than 2 minutes.
Are we done?
Should we keep going, or you want to do one more?
We got 60 seconds.
I want to ask you a business question. How has streaming changed soundtracks? Because when you're talking about Twisters, we don't see that many, like the best-selling soundtrack of all time is The Bodyguard, which you guys probably know. I think it's like 30 million, and that's more than 30 years old now. Mm-hmm. Will we ever see, so much has changed in the industry, will we ever see a soundtrack do something like that now?
The Wicked soundtrack, which just broke the record for #1 on the compilations chart in the UK for 16 weeks, which puts it in the all-time longest at the top of that chart record. The soundtrack just crossed 1 billion streams.
So you just measure it very differently now.
So I think the metrics can be different, and you have to cross that threshold where it becomes something that's not just commercial but cultural. But yeah, sure, I think so. And streaming makes it different, but whatever screen or screens, cool thing about Wicked is people not just seeing it, but then they're saying, I saw it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. It's coming to Peacock in a few days, so you can see Wicked on Peacock starting in just a couple days. Do it, but I don't really think our job, we want to make great movies. Yes, we are very bullish on and still passionate about the theatrical experience, and that's why we get to work with filmmakers like Christopher Nolan. We're making his movie The Odyssey right now, very excited about that, and that'll be something that as you can imagine, will be a big screen experience. And the soundtrack, again, I'll keep saying it because we work for the movie, we'll make the right kind of soundtrack for that. Ludwig Göransson's multi-award-winning soundtrack that you mentioned, you know, Can You Hear the Music, the track from that, also streamed, which was unusual for a score cue, but streamed over 1 billion times, not long after the movie came out and became a thing on social media platforms and all that, which is another metric. So The Bodyguard was of a different era, but if you did that movie today and the movie did as well and the music was as well received by whatever the metrics are, you'd still have a hit soundtrack, right? And so we start with wanting to make amazing movies. You can't cheat, there's no shortcuts, you can't trick people. Audience will sniff it a mile away. If it's inauthentic, if it's not organic, authentic, genuine, those are my favorite adjectives. But if it's not those things, people will know and they will reject it. So therefore, you gotta make things that are those adjectives and people will receive it accordingly.
Thank you. I know you're going to make us run. I think we all want Mike's job now. I think that's safe
Cannot
to say. Right, until you're ready to go, which is be a very, very long time. But Mike, I want to thank you. Your stories were great. I've known you a long time, and I was hearing stories that I didn't know. So, Mike, thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. Thank you, Mike, for an incredible keynote interview.
Oh, sure.